There we go, not muted this time. Hello and welcome to Three Skulls Tavern. I'm your host, Matt, and we're back for episode 2 of our Imperium Maledictum campaign set on the planet of Necromunda. Before we jump into it, I just want to do a few quick things. First, I want to do a recap of last session. I also want to talk a little about the geography of this enclave that we're playing in, because I was kind of plucking numbers out of the air last time and without really having thought about it. And I spent quite a bit of time coming up with this sort of fantasy geography, and just want to quickly talk through it before we start this campaign, because I'm basically going to be retconning some of the stuff that I talked about before, so that it all makes sense, it's all kind of ties up with the rest of the Necromunda lore, etc. Okay, so recap from last session. We saw our two players coming into Rustgate, which is is kind of like the main settlement in the enclave that we're playing in. And the enclave, of course, I can't remember the designation of it. It's 42XC, I think, off the top of my head. CX. 42CX. 42 is an easy number to remember, of course, because it's the answer to, everything. And not that that's why I picked that number. I'm going off on a tangent already. In Rustgate, they basically have been hired to investigate why there are not as many corpses being rendered. The corpse starch production volumes are not as high as they ideally should be, and they're getting lower and lower and closer to the red line for this enclave. So the two players are basically agents working on behalf of various guilds, and they've been hired by the Corpse Guild to investigate. So once arriving in Rustgate, they made their way to the Factorum, the Corpse Guild Factorum, where they met Lev Sternvent, who's the overseer of the Factorum in that settlement. A kind of slippery fellow who kind of seemed to be keen that the players wouldn't be poking around too much. They were then introduced to Polonia, who is a pale consort of the Corpse Guild there, and she basically then took the players under their wing and met them a little bit later in the day on a date at a cafe where they ate some of this revolutionary new wonder. Well, not both of them, I should say. So one of the players ate this new wonder food, this fungus, which is kind of like vegan meat, if you will, called green finger, and so did Polonia. And we were also very briefly introduced to Scab, who is a corpse grinder, which is basically a muscle for the corpse guild. They are the ones who usually will chop up bodies if they need to, or lug corpses around while they're out and about looking for raw material. And then we left it there after this date with Polonia, where they're trying to find out what's going on, trying to dig a little bit deeper. And we left it with the players deciding that the next avenue they're going to pursue would be a connection. Grim Bolter, a House Orlok ganger, who basically is one of the connections for one of the players, who is known to be in the settlement of Ironmouth, or Ironmouth, if you want to put a bit of a British twang on it, which is a settlement in the northeast of this enclave. So we're going to be investigating Ironmouth next in this session. So that's the recap. In terms of geography, I'm going to flash a bit of a Discord post appear onto the screen, and this is effectively what I came up with. And this is the geography for the entire Quinspirus cluster. And as you can see, the population for the entire cluster is just under 1 billion people. There are roughly 50 levels in Hive City. Hive City is the kind of center bit of the hive. You have the spires, which is where all the important and wealthy people live. You have the underhive, which is below the surface level, and isn't really, there's no real census that kind of keeps track of numbers down there. But the main bulk of the population live in Hive City, the kind of central main part. There are 50 levels there. Each level in the lower hive, so I've split it into the upper hive, mid hive, and lower hive. And in the lower hive, which is where we are now, there are and I've said like half of the hive city levels are considered lower hive. So like, the vast majority of people live in the kind of like lower income, the more dingy parts of the hive, because this is after all 40k. The number of enclaves in each of those lower hives is approximately 45. It's obviously going to vary level by level. And the population of the current enclave we're playing in is about 800,000 people for the entire enclave. Remember, there are 4 major settlements here. There are also going to be small outposts and small settlements dotted around in between them as well. The area of the enclave is about 500 square miles, which is roughly the size of Los Angeles. The height of the enclave, bearing in mind that these are kind of like layered on top of each other, the height is about 500 feet tall. And to put that into perspective, that's about half the height of the Eiffel Tower. So yeah, it's reasonably high, but it's also not like ridiculously high. And that's obviously going to vary in places, but more or less generally speaking, I'm just trying to give an idea to people of the volume of this space we're playing in. The annual death rate for this enclave is 20,000 people, and the expected number of corpses from this is 15,000. So although 20,000 die, there's a 25% budgeted loss, which is kind of important in this campaign to know those numbers. That budgeted loss will include, for example, corpses lost to the Redemptionist enclave. Off in the west, Salvation Gorge, because they cremate their dead, as well as bodies that have been blown up by gang wars or, that sort of thing. So not every corpse is going to be able to be rendered down into corpse starch. So those are the numbers. There will be a link to that spreadsheet where I calculated all these numbers in the description if you want to go check out the kind of statistics of how I did that. And if you have any questions about how I come up with any of that, please drop a comment in the description. Drop a comment and ask, and I'll be happy to kind of talk through some of that. But I won't spend time in the video doing that now. Okay, so with all that done, let's jump over to Foundry and our players. All right. So I'm just checking that you're not muted. You're not good. So we're all...
I was about to ask.
Thankfully, I noticed very quickly, there have been times where I've had everyone muted for like 10 minutes of a stream before, but, yeah, it is what it is. So we're opening the scene with the two of you having arrived in Ironmouth. I know that you're meant to be looking for Grim Bolter, but Polonia is accompanying you on this journey. Right? We did talk about that, I believe.
I thought
it was recommended.
I thought we decided not to bring her, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
If you don't want to bring her, that's also perfectly possible. I
thought if we wanted to go to the to Pipe Falls, then we would bring her and her entourage as sort of extra muscle.
Right. Yeah. Pipe Falls was a more dangerous one, and I think Clovis is even keeping his contact. Like, I don't think I'm going to be at the meeting with the contact as well, because Clovis is keeping it kind of close to his chest.
Yep. No, that's fine. I will say, though, that despite that being your intention, when you get to the train station, in Rustgate to get the train over to Ironmouth, she is waiting for you there. So she's clearly got surveillance on you. She doesn't have any gangers in tow. So you kind of get the impression she did talk about having a full entourage with her. You maybe get the impression that she only just found out that you were planning on taking a train and has rushed to get there without bringing the additional backup that she normally would. She doesn't say anything about you planning on going, like where you're going or anything like that. She's just kind of like turning up like, oh, I'm here. And yeah. Just like it's the most normal thing in the world. But the things that you are aware of is that you didn't tell her that you're planning on going to Ironmouth, that she did say she was going to have a full entourage with her. And those are the kind of the salient facts that you'll definitely be noticing as you're basically boarding the train. The train to Ironmouth doesn't take very long at all. It only takes bearing in mind that this is like going from one side of LA to another on a kind of high-speed-ish train. It's only going to take you about half an hour, I would suggest, maybe, and maximum. And on that journey, do you want to talk with Poloni about anything? She doesn't attempt to talk to you, either of you. But she just sits there. In fact, we could say she just sits there, kind of opposite, with her hands steepled.
Well, when we first noticed her there, I want to get a read of, is she annoyed? Is she like, think she pulled a fast one on us?
I'm not going to ask for a roll of any kind. She is she's actually wearing a mask now, so you can't get any kind of a read. You can see her eyes, and you definitely recognize like her clothing is very similar to what she wore the previous day when you met up with her. But she's wearing a mask, and you are aware that the Pale Consorts are known for having masks, and obviously she's not wearing it all the time, because when you met her she didn't have one on. When you were at the cafe she didn't have one on, but this, you get the impression that she's in a more official capacity right now, is kind of the impression that you're getting. In terms of like her weapons and things like that, she is equipped with, let me just check this very quickly. I don't think she has a firearm. She has a very long knife, visible like on her hip, and she also has a las pistol on her opposite hip. So she does actually have a she's actually armed with a ranged weapon. So yeah.
I think Clovis will sort of lean towards that's Solomon, and like maybe whisper in his ear that when we get to Ironmouth, I need you to distract her so I can slip away and speak to my contact without Lonia following me.
I'll grunt back.
She watches the exchange. You don't know if she's heard you or not, but she watches the exchange. You can see her eyes kind of flicking to Clovis as Clovis is whispering, and then when Solomon grunts, she kind of looks at him. But she doesn't say anything. Her face is hit clear, like literally a mask, but her eyes also don't give much away at all. She's not like cocking eyebrows or anything like that. It's literally just, you know, her gaze flicking between the two of you. Yeah, go on.
So I speak past my ugly filtration plugs that are jutting out of my nose. So, what a coincidence! You have business in Ironmouth.
She says, "Oh well, my business in Ironmouth is to make sure that you are taken care of, that anything that you need is taken care of, I should say. There are certain doors that might be closed to you that a Pale Consort might be able to open, especially within the walls of a Corpse Guild Factorum, which is where I'm assuming you're going to be wanting to talk to our overseer there."
Appreciate the effort.
Yep, she doesn't say anything else to that. Doesn't even acknowledge the appreciation. And it's at that point that the train slows and comes in. There's kind of a very monotone servitor style voice that announces Ironmouth, Enclave 42CX. And she rises along with the both of you, and there are a couple of other people that are coming here as well. They look like, I don't know, just a random assortment of people. Maybe maybe a House Orlok, or a couple of House Orlok gangers, and an Administratum person. And you all get off, and this, unlike at Rustgate, this opens up into effectively an industrial loading platform. And although this is like a civilian train, you notice that there is a train on another set of tracks that is much, much, much bigger, with freight cars loaded behind it. And the first thing you notice as you step off of the train is this vibration under your feet. As it's mild, but you know that there's probably a lot of industry going on here. It's also a lot warmer here than it was in Rustgate. The temperature is it's kind of bordering on the uncomfortable. So that's also something to be aware of. There's a smell of kind of smoke, but not like burn, like things like houses are burning or anything like that. It's more like coal coal pollution, that sort of thing. And you do notice like the light is not as bright here as it was in Rustgate. It's a bit dimmer, and yet you do notice that there is kind of a pall of smog hovering over, like near the roof of the enclave here. Although you can see at least 2 massive industrial vents built into the side. Clearly the Air Guild has installed some ventilation here for this industrial center that are working hard to pull the pollutants away, but there's so much being churned out that it's not quite able to keep up. But saying that, it's not like you're gonna get, like, you can barely breathe because of the smoke. It's definitely in the air. There's a tang of it. You also notice there's kind of like this layer of, almost like a layer of grime and soot, where you would normally expect to see like dust that almost coats, in certain areas. There's like a bit of a grimy layer. So there's it's just a kind of very industrial settlement. There seems to be a lot of movement here at the rail yard. There are lots of guards, you notice, at the gates to the rail yard, wearing Orlok colors, so kind of the blue, basically like blue jackets. And they have a very, very particular look, the Orlok, House Orlok. You don't see much else beyond, because there's these big walls that go around. Although on the other side of the walls, you can just see in a few places that there are some hab units rising above the walls, and they appear to be made out of like shipping containers, like stacked shipping containers, from the ones that you can see. In the distance, you can hear the sound of loud drilling, and like the sounds of industry, hammering, and high performance industrial saws, that sort of thing. Also the sound of vehicles moving around, and we're not talking about cyberpunk. We're talking I was gonna say petrol guzzling, but promethium guzzling land-based vehicles, really heavy engines rumbling.
Like,
so that's the sense you get. That's the sense you get of this place. Polonia kind of pops. She didn't have nose plugs in. She takes her mask off and she puts 2 filtration plugs into her nose, and then puts her mask back on. She could have done that on the train, but you get the impression that she's making a point of it here now. And then she says, "If you will follow me, I will take you to the Factorum in this dump." And she makes her way directly for the gate in front of both of you.
So where in relation, I assume we had some level of geography of Ironmouth. Where in relation to the Factorum?
You don't actually have any idea of the layout. Like when you came to Rustgate, you were kind of in an administratum building, and there was like a handy map in like a foyer that showed you a layout of the town. This is literally you're probably on the very northern point of you kind of know from looking at maps of the Enclave in the administratum that the train comes in from the north into Ironmouth. And when you get off the train, if you were to turn around and look behind you, you would see that the walls of the Enclave is sort of like made up of... in fact, here in Ironmouth, I should say that a much more significant portion of the wall appears to be natural stone. So perhaps, this is a part where there was some hill geography when the hive was built on top of it. You know that there's a lot of mining that goes on here for ferrite, which is used to create steel. And for that, there would need to be mines that can go down into the bowels of the planet. So whereas in Rustgate it was much more just ruins and scrap making up like the walls and stuff. Here it's a little bit more. There is still some of that, but it's also a little bit more rocky. So you're kind of in the northern point of the northern central point of Ironmouth, you guess. And looking in front of you, just certainly with how the walls are arranged, you kind of have like a 180 view of the walls, kind of not quite circling, but maybe more like, I don't know, like lots of angles and stuff. But it's kind of like circling this rail yard.
All right, I'm gonna, as I'm putting on, I guess Polonia like said that and like starts walking in the direction.
Yeah.
I guess expecting us to follow. So I guess we'll lag back a bit, and I'll put on my photovisors to so I can see better in this dim settlement.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look at Clovis, basically like, so do you actually want to come to the factory first and then break off afterward, or do you want to just?
I think I might slow down a bit and just slink away while you two go to the Factorum and try to meet up with my contact.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. So you get to the gate. Are you gonna try and slip off like while you're in the rail yard or after?
No, I'll wait till we pass the gate and.
Yeah, that's probably good because when you get to the gate, Polonia turns around just to make sure that you were following her, and then she just walks through the gate. They're one of the guards on the gate. Their gates are open. It's not like they're stopping traffic already. One of the guards almost steps, like he takes a step to kind of block your way, and then just looking directly at Polonia, kind of gives his head a little shake and steps back again and just lets you all pass. The Corpse Guild, you will be familiar, are quite widely feared throughout, definitely throughout this hive cluster, but you're probably aware that they're feared everywhere in Necromunda. So, she also is just kind of like, doesn't even slow when he steps towards her. She doesn't doesn't change anything. Like, if you're almost like, if you stop me, I'm gonna like plow through you kind of thing. Doesn't put a hand on a weapon, anything. It's just literally this regal sort of like arrogant stride that she does. And as you go beyond the gates, what you did indeed see rising above them appears to be how at least this part of the settlement is made up of. It's just lots of shipping containers of different sizes that have basically been stacked on top of each other. You've got walkways of a few levels up that are kind of connecting them, ladders, makeshift stairs. There are some buildings that are made up of scrap as well, like you saw in Rustgate, but the vast majority of Ironmouth appears to be made up of discarded freight containers. And there's like lots of like narrow alleyways. It's quite dingy. There is lighting, but it's not anywhere near as bright as it was in Rustgate. Plenty of opportunities for Clovis to slip away, and I won't even require a roll because she's not even checking. So whenever you want to make your escape, I'm assuming that you're letting Solomon stand in front of you to screen in case. Yeah. You'll just pop into, I guess, an alley, a convenient alley.
You have a Vox speed.
Slide into the
shadows. Clovis has a Vox speed, right?
Yes.
All right. Just stay on comms. Keep me appraised where you are.
Yep. Will do.
Okay, so I think what we'll do, because since we're splitting the party, I want to do a little bit with Clovis first and just see how he's going to try and figure out where Grim is at. Before you actually go any further with that, we'll then cut to Solomon and over at the Factorum. Okay? So, Martin, what's the plan? You're now in a dark alleyway. You give it like a good count to 60 or 100 or something. Peek your head back out, and they're gone. You don't know, like you assume walk in the same direction they're going. What do you want to do?
I probably don't have any real idea where Grim might be, so I'll just have a wander through if there's like a more like the main thoroughfare, and have a look if there's some hangout or bar where the Orlocks seem to congregate or
Yeah.
hang out.
That's gonna be easy to find. Sure, you were just on like the main thoroughfare. There are quite a lot of people around as well, in this settlement, and there's a lot of industry going on. So there's a lot of people moving around. They're all quite busy. You are able to spot some Orlok gangers as well. So you kind of follow some of them for a little bit until you notice that there is what is clearly a drinking hole, with, let's say, like a couple of Orlok gangers near the door chatting to each other. So you want to head in there, or do you want to talk to the two on the door, or what do you want to do?
I think I'll go inside first and see.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's inside?
Sure.
I might get lucky and he might be there.
Yeah. Yeah. You go inside, and this isn't one of those like westerns where you like enter the tavern and everybody stops dead and looks at you, or lots of old pubs in England that I've been to where it's like an old man's pub and you walk in and everyone's like, who's this now? There are a lot of Orlok gangers here. This is clearly like one of their bars, but it's not exactly like you feel unwelcome all of a sudden. There's plenty of like tables free. There's some stools at the bar that are free, and the bartender is doing the usual thing that a bartender does. He's got a grubby towel or a grubby cloth, and he's kind of like wiping out a pint glass. But there's lots of places where you could talk to people. Tables with, they're playing. Some of them are playing cards or playing at dice. It sounds almost like a fantasy setting. But they do that in 40K as well. Yeah.
I think I'll talk to the bartender first and
okay.
see if he knows Grim, and order a drink probably. Just
yeah. So you order a drink, you pay for it, and you get like the kind of alcoholic
something like
beverage.
a local brew. I'm looking for.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna be delicious as well. You know it.
I'm totally into the craft scene and.
Yeah. I will say that the lighting inside this place is quite dim as well. So there are lots of dark corners. You almost feel like it's deliberately kept like that. Around the bar, it's a bit brighter, but everywhere else, it's pretty dim. So kind of as you're walking, you're kind of glancing. There's like a lot of the faces are kind of shadowed. Some of them glance curiously at you, but they don't kind of linger. They go back to whatever they were doing. And he basically the pint glass he was wiping out, he goes to a tap, fills it up with some sort of a dark liquid, and plunks it down in front of you and says, "That's iron brew."
Looks hearty.
It is hearty.
I'm actually. Well, I'll take a sip. And
yeah, it definitely has an irony tang to it. It's kind of a strong ale. I mean, a lot of beer, especially stouts, have iron in them. So, just imagine like a Guinness, but even more metallic.
I'll grunt appreciatively and then say I'm actually looking for a friend of mine who might be one of your regulars. Goes by the name of Grim Bolter. He's with the Orlocks.
A couple of the other gangers kind of sat at the bar, kind of look at you with interest. One of them actually swivels on his stool and rests his elbow on the counter to kind of look at you. So this is no longer a private conversation. And the bartender says, "Oh yeah, Grim Bolter, you say? Friend of yours, you say? How do you know Grim then?"
We had some adventures together a while back. I helped each other out, and I was hoping to repay my debt to him.
You remember that Grim is a contact is not someone that you actually have met, right? You got in touch with your contact, who's an Orlok guy in another hive, and he told you that he knows somebody by the name of Grim.
Yep,
And
you're right. I
you've come
forgot.
up with the name of your contact too. Let me just find it. So it's on your character sheet, I think.
Yeah, it
Under
should
the
be.
notes. Irissa.
Yeah, that's it.
So Irissa would have told you about Grimbolter.
Yeah, it was. Okay, let's rewind. It's well, actually, a friend of mine, Irissa, told me I should look him up when I was in Ironmouth, and maybe he could help me out with some business I have here. So that's why I'm looking for him, and
Irissa.
I hope.
Don't know no Irissa. What kind of business is it you're doing here? Apologies for my accent. It's all over the place right now.
Well, I'm actually. Well, let's see. Yeah, I'll probably mention that I'm on commission for the guild, the Corpse Guild, and we have we've been sent to investigate some anomalies.
Okay.
And yeah, I was hoping that maybe Grim could help me figure things out, and that's why I reached out to Irissa, and she told me he was the one to talk to here.
Okay.
That's the local.
Good. So I think we're gonna do a dice roll here, and we're gonna look at influence as well. So if we look at your character sheet, one thing I haven't done here is I've put your influence in on the main part of your character sheet. You get some through your patron, which is the Guilders and the Adeptus Administratum. You get one through your background, your origin, which is the Astra Militarum. I forgot to do it, but through your contact as well, you'll get another one specifically for House Orlok. In the core rulebook, it has infractionists as a kind of combined group, and I said this in the last session, I believe, that I've decided to split that out because it's mainly infractionists in Necromunda into the various different factions. So House Orlok will definitely be a specific faction here, and you'll have one. In fact, I'll quickly add that. I'll put here House Orlok, and you'll have one influence with them. So that's going to come into play. I don't think it makes any sense for. Can't change it. Did I just roll that? I did.
Something rolled.
I heard something rolling. Yeah.
Neurophon.
I've
got a second window open. It's clearly registering. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so you've got one influence with House Orlok, and the way influence works is that when you're making social tests, which is what we're going to be doing in a second, you get a number of SL equal to your influence with that faction if you have it. So you're going to get a 1 SL to this. And also the initial attitude of the faction members that are, when they're dealing with you, is determined by it as well. So with a +1, you go from being neutral at 0 to being welcomed. So you dropping that somebody is going to maybe make them a little bit more friendly towards you in a narrative sense. And that way that mechanically comes out is that you get this 1 SL plus 1 SL to your social test. So you're trying to convince him to, you're just some random off the street. You're doing some name dropping. You show off the Corpse Guild. You mentioned the Corpse Guild. You're going to show you've got like his token that you were given as well.
Yeah.
Token of authority. You can show that off as well. But I think here it's not going to really come into play very much, or at least that isn't going to come into play in this particular instance. So skill-wise, I would say that this is going to be a rapport test.
Okay, so
which for you is a target of 29.
Yeah, I'm not the most social type, so okay. So I'll roll. I'll put in the
and
SL
there could be an argument
test.
for there being some bonuses there to this roll, but that's actually taken by the influence coming into play and giving you the +1 SL rather than like a +20 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and give me a roll for that.
So
okay.
close.
Well, that's a 0. marginal failure. This is not fast SL like in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. The SL level is a 0, so you get a +1 to that. So you actually have 1 success level. So you have succeeded. Okay. So we're gonna that frown gets turned upside down, so to speak, and it goes from having a marginal failure to having a marginal success. So congratulations, that worked. It only worked because you name dropped the right, like you clearly know the name of Grim Bolter, you clearly know someone, or the kind of like you're doing this, you're approaching this in a kind of a respectful way, rather than, even though you kind of mentioned what you're doing, you're not trying to lie to them or trying to do this through deception, and I think they can tell that and they appreciate it. So it's not actually the bartender who answers you, but the guy who's kind of like watching you from the side, and he says, Grim. Yeah, I know Grim. He's at the mines. Should be at the mines today. He gives you a description. I'll try and think about what his description is. Let's say that he's quite short. He's got a big handlebar mustache. I'm just thinking of Orlok miniatures, sorry. They all look like gang bikers with big handlebar mustaches. So he's got a big handlebar mustache, and he's got a ponytail, black hair, ponytail, and that's kind of all he says. So short, handlebar mustache, ponytail. And when you look around the bar, you notice there's probably 2 other Orlok gangers that match that description, although you don't know how tall they are because they're sitting down. Yeah. But it's not lost on you that that's not really necessarily going to help you so much. But maybe it will when you're like, you can spot them from a handful of them, and only one of them looks like that. Okay, so now that you have that information, I assume you're going to finish your drink and go over to the mines to look for him.
I'll say much appreciated, and sort of, I won't like waft my drink, but I'll drink it quite quickly and move on.
Okay, so we'll cut over then to Solomon, and you've arrived at the Factorum. This is a much smaller Factorum than the one in Rustgate. It's kind of you get the impression that you're in the middle of this settlement, although because there's so many like tall stacks of these like shipping containers all over the place, it's very hard to see. Whereas in Rustgate, when you arrived, you were kind of like, it was built on the top of a slope, the Administratum building, so you had a nice view over the entire settlement. It's not the case here. You're kind of like at ground level the whole time, and there's just, your vision is obscured by all of these, like buildings, for want of a better word. So you don't see like an exterior like wall or anything like that. You're just all of a sudden at this building, which looks a bit different to the rest of the architecture in the settlement, but is clearly a Factorum of some description. And you see the Corpse Guild insignia on the door, and of course a single grinder also at the door. And when Polonia approaches, the grinder instantly tries to like stand as straight as he can, and says, "Consort," to her when she approaches. "To what do we owe the honor?" And she doesn't actually talk to him. She completely ignores him, turns around, and looks at you, Solomon. "Where is Clovis, your friend?"
I'm gonna put on my shocked face and look over my shoulder and be like, "Huh. Maybe he had to use the bathroom or something. I'm sure he'll catch up."
She pauses. "I see. Very well. Come."
So, how is this Factorum on the red line scale?
What's that, sorry?
How is this Factorum doing on the red line scale?
You asked her that?
Yeah, as we're walking through.
Well, let's speak with the Overseer and find out. She enters the Factorum, and this is laid out a little bit differently to the last one you were in. It looks like the offices are at the front near the entrance, so you're not walking through the grisly, factory floor, as it were. Although you definitely are you've got your filtration plugs in, I assume, right?
Yes.
But your mouth is sometimes occasionally open, so you're getting the kind of the sensory smells through your sense of taste to a certain extent, and there's a kind of sharp tang of kind of metallic blood, copper. You can kind of taste in the air. So you probably keep your mouth shut after that a little bit. And you can definitely hear like the sounds of sawing and like, what is happening from beyond. It's like they're definitely hard at work here.
I picture the filtration plugs you inhale through your nose and probably exhale through your mouth or something.
Yeah, so there's actually like the entry in the core rulebook has two different types of methods for keeping pollutants out of your body through inhalation. One is a respirator, which is effectively like a mask, and the other are filtration plugs, which are effectively nose plugs. And it does actually say, assuming you don't breathe through your mouth, you should be fine. So it's kind of it seems a bit interesting that I don't know, like how effective are nose plugs in a toxic environment? Well, probably not that. But that's what you've got. So yeah. Hey. Anyway, she's instantly shown. There's an aide who comes running up and shows you to another office, and the aide is a kind of thick-set man, and doesn't introduce himself or anything. But he basically quickly, seeing the pale consort there, kind of hurries over, opens one of the doors inside the kind of like, for want of a better word, lobby area, and ushers you inside, where you're again in what's clearly an overseer's office. This one is much tidier than Lev's very messy office, and there is quite a pale and gaunt woman sat behind a desk, and she rises and stands as Polonia sweeps in with Solomon, you just behind her. You instantly can tell like her hands start shaking a little bit, and she kind of puts them kind of behind her to maybe hide some nerves, and she says, Polonia, to what do we owe the honor of your visit? Polonia says nothing and just kind of stands to the side and gestures to you, Solomon, and says, this man has been hired on behalf of our guildmaster, and you will answer his questions. The woman nods and says, I see. I am Kiri Benikroff. I am the overseer here in Ironmouth. Please sit down. She takes a hand from behind her back, and she kind of shakingly kind of gestures to a chair. There's only one chair, so Polonia stays kind of standing at the wall.
All right. As I said, I do pull out my token or badge that does show I'm working for the Corpse Guild.
She kind of glances at it, but for her, I think Polonia being there, introducing you is enough for her. She just kind of like absent-mindedly nods, but yeah, you're doing it by the book. That's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when Polonia introduces me, I basically say, "Thank you, Polonia." Not quite inferring that she's working for me, but at the same time trying to defuse the tension.
Okay.
With the woman behind the desk.
Okay. Yep. Noted. Duly noted.
Sorry. I'm losing my train of thought, like I always do when I'm put on the spot.
So yeah. You're. Do you want to sit down? I guess is the first question. She's kind of offering you a seat. Okay.
Yeah. I nodded at Polonia, like as a thanking her for the introduction. I show my badge as I take a seat. Sweep my coat aside, so I'm not sitting on it and all that stuff.
As you do that, you notice that the aide that showed you in is also standing near the door, kind of not next to Polonia, kind of on the other side of the door, if you will, at the back. So also there. This person doesn't really seem to have a kind of intimidating presence. It's not like a grinder. This is clearly some sort of an aide to the overseer.
They're like an office pogue more than a street worker or something.
Yeah. And as you sit down, Kiri, or let's call her Benikroff. We'll go by her surname. Benikroff says to you, so working on behalf of our guildmaster. What can I do for you? What's the problem? Is there a problem?
Interesting. I figured everyone here would know if there's a problem, but okay.
She glances when you say that. She glances very quickly to her aide and then back to you. And just smiles.
Oh, as I would have assumed you'd be aware of, there's some concern at the reduction, the slope line. I'm going like full business if I can. The slope line of the income path has been reducing at a rate that is concerning to the guildmaster.
Yes, that matter. Well, yes. I'm aware that we're not the only factorum here in the enclave that are facing these problems, but yes, and as I've told them before, we're doing everything we can to get the numbers up. But we're still above the line. We're still meeting our quotas, if only just.
Love the qualification. So
our pale consort is not here. We have a pale consort here as well. She is out collecting raw material as we speak with our finest. Rest assured, we're doing everything we can to meet our quotas.
Have there been increases in safety measures with the? I assume there's a mining guild of some sort. As a mining guild and installed new safety measures, and I kind of like laugh at the concept that they would actually do that.
Perhaps I don't actually know. Maybe they have. Maybe that's the reason. There are. She pauses. Yes, maybe. As if she was about to give away something she shouldn't have said.
All right. All right, I'm gonna try and just ask general probing questions, what are your books? What are your rates? How they've been going down? What do you think? Just trying to
So you're gonna kind of take like an auditor, like an accounting auditor's tack here.
Yeah.
Ask her lots of show you the books, and kind of almost blather, get her to slip by a barrage of information and questions and things, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then my intent is to use inquiry at some point to actually try to fit, if I can get her to slip. So where's my skill? Oh, wrong skill.
So there are a couple of different ways we can handle this. You have the specialization inquiry, which is part of rapport, which is perfect for here. Bear in mind you have the people intuition, but let me ask you to roll for that specifically if it's needed. In this case, I think that she's giving so much away at the moment that there's no need for that. I've already kind of revealed quite a bit. But let's make an inquiry roll here. You're going to get 3 SL because you have your patron's influence in specifically here. It's going to make a difference. So whatever you roll, there's going to be a +3 SL to it.
Awesome. Standard challenging?
Yeah, I think so. Well, in fact, let me think about this for a second. I think actually with social tests, they actually are meant to be opposed, but I'm not going to do that. Discipline
or presence generally, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm going to do that here. Oh, in fact, let's do it. Let's do it by the book for now. So I don't actually have. What I do have is I haven't statted her up, but I do have Icarus as a. I have Lev as an overseer. So we'll use his stats. So it's in the chat. It's going to say that Lev has rolled, but in fact we'll just ignore that because we know that it's actually Kira.
Sure.
Or Kiri, I should say.
Oh, come on.
He's the roll discipline.
Well, I have a -1, so please hope they roll bad.
Well, there we go.
Oops.
Oh no, I didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
So you're. In fact, we don't look at the -1 for your roll. We compare the difference, and then we add the +3. So, yeah, that's like -7 success levels, which gets taken up to the -4.
Oh, that's right. There's the span.
So still an impressive failure. So she's being very tight-lipped. Every time you get the impression that her job here is the books. So she knows them inside and out. And every time you're trying to befuddle her a bit, she's not falling for it. She's very much able to know, and to answer your questions and to look at things. So
she's dealt with auditors before, apparently.
That probably she's been asked about this by the guildmaster or by someone else in the enclave, perhaps by Lev, who's the head of the head overseer, if you will, for this entire enclave. So she's probably got a story that she's already been sticking to for a while, if there is a story. Yeah. So we're gonna. That's basically. I don't really allow for testing the same skill again for a slightly different tack. We're kind of having this as a single skill that's kind of taking up quite a bit.
Totally reasonable.
So have a think about whether there's another tack you want to kind of approach in this, rather than the kind of inquiry. But you do get the impression after talking to her for a little bit that you're not getting anywhere. But you do think that she might be hiding something in the fact that she kind of stopped herself before she was saying there was, and then went on to say something else.
All right. This might be my chance to use this skill that I took, explicitly to use it. So at a suitable point, like when we're doing all this, I'm going to start throwing in a naval story about some logistical nightmare we had with ammunition not being supplied properly for my squad, and I basically want to use Gothic gibberish to just stun her in an attempt to completely throw her off guard.
Okay, but this is where I think that talent would be the exact same role we just made, and it's to kind of use in collaboration with the test we just made. So that would have, just reading through the text of it, you have to make another test, which is what we've just done, and if you win the opposed test, then they are stunned.
Oh, that works.
So we can say you've tried that. That's basically what you were trying there. They may attempt another each of their turns. So that's if you manage to stun them into it. So we'll just say that that's kind of what you tried and it didn't quite work. One thing I do want to look at very quickly is your fate points, because I think there's a way that you could potentially do something with that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we had fate in the system.
Yeah, I need to just quickly look up on how that works.
I mean, I know people usually use them to not die in combat kind of thing. At least.
Yeah, but you can spend fate and you can burn fate, and spending is like a temporary spend you get back at the end of the session. And if you burn fate, that's basically where you're burning it. You don't get it back. It's a permanent spend, and you can re-roll a failed test with a spending a fate point. In fact, let me just check on how you gain it back. It might not be.
Sorry, what page was that?
You recover spent fate at the start of each session, so you basically have 3 re-rolls. It's page 220.
220. Okay, sorry.
You can re-roll a failed test. You can gain. In fact, I might have put it in the. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can gain advantage on a test before it is rolled. You can add 1 SL to a test after it is rolled. At the start of the round, choose when to act at that round, ignoring initiative. Ignore all effects from critical wounds. Remove a condition. So in this instance, you could basically re-roll or gain advantage before it's rolled. And what we could say. I'll allow you to spend it multiple times on a single test, but you need to. I think if you're going to re-roll here, then I don't want to keep spend it to re-roll and then spend it again to re-roll. It kind of only makes sense to approach it one more time. So maybe I would suggest using advantage and a re-roll if you wanted to, and use to spend 2 of them in one go. You will get them back at the beginning of the next session anyway. So it's. Right.
I think I will do that. I want to re-roll it.
Worth remembering. Yeah. Okay, so we'll reduce your fate down by how many? 1 or 2?
2.
Okay, so I'll do that now. I'll just put it down so you got 1 of 3 fate. And when you roll, you should have the option of doing advantage.
Yep.
So go ahead and do that, and I'll roll
Inquiry,
Lev again. His discipline.
Advantage, public. I feel like the SL box where you can put in SLs you already get.
Oh, there we go. This is going to be a lot better. Hopefully.
Unless I roll double odds.
Okay, but you get a +3 SL.
Should...
So you got a +2 SL anyway for that, because it's because you rolled like less bad, if you will. You
Yes.
get a plus. Well, we can say your +3 SL brings you to a +2. So, yeah, it works. So, and we could say use your Gothic gibberish again. So, looking at the text of Gothic gibberish, in fact, I think I can post that to chat as well. I'm gonna try and let me just do that very quickly.
Yeah, I believe there's a way to post those.
I think if I click on it with Control, no, for right click somewhere on it.
There we go. If you click on the quote box in the title bar.
Okay, that'll do it.
Yep, I just
Perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, you've succeeded, and it says it's stunned for as long as you want to continue to spout your nonsense. Creatures stunned by your Gothic gibberish do nothing other than stare at you dumbfounded as they try to catch up with or understand what you're saying. They may attempt another discipline test opposed by your rapport charm at the end of each of their turns. Did you actually roll?
Oh, so in this case, I'll do it. Right,
But that's fine.
It.
You rolled a 68, so the 68 would have actually not have been against Inquiry, but would have been against Charm, which is a different specialization. But that's 5 less, so you still would have had the target. So you rolled an 86 against a target of
Or 68, yeah.
50 versus 50. It says, so that would still be you'd still have a positive number anyway. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, she's looking at you stunned, and the way we'll handle this narratively is that you start trying to do it, and she's kind of masterfully answering your questions, and then it's kind of like you redouble your efforts almost, and you're able to effectively. She just like all of a sudden is like can't handle it, and she's just kind of like she's in a stunned condition now. So I'll let you follow this up then with a. I don't want to have too many rolls here. I think this is good enough where you've basically succeeded at a roll to stun her with gibberish, and then how do you want to kind of handle it with asking her questions?
So I guess when I realize that she's really good at dealing with auditors, I start just tangent off something completely inane, like that reminds me of, and just until the eyes glaze over, and then I switch back into like asking my questions again.
Okay, and I guess this is kind of important. What's the kind of what's the kind of question that you want her to be slipping on? Is there some sort of thing that you want her to be revealing?
Basically, what she thinks or knows is like the reason for the decline, like the thing she almost answered me before, but like stopped herself on, because she was like going down a track of answering a question, and then changed the answer to be, oh yeah, like this or whatever. I'm trying to figure out what's behind the story.
Okay.
That she's obviously practiced at answering.
Okay. Yeah.
To avoid answering the underlying thing that's being asked.
She basically suddenly blurts out. Hold on, I've lost my mouse completely.
Technology.
Oh, God. My mouse, I can see it. I can see when I'm highlighting certain things, but it's no longer visible on my screen. Okay, this will be interesting, because I got to flick through like hundreds of different open windows. It's back. It's back now. It's all good. It's just come back. You heard me talking about it. So she lets slip suddenly that something along the lines of, how can she be expected to meet quotas with all the problems they're having here? And as soon as she mentions that, you kind of maybe dig your claws in a little bit more, and she kind of breaks and says that they've had staff who've disappeared, equipment has gone missing, and some of the staff have even made preposterous claims that corpses have gone missing before they've been rendered from their storeroom. And Polonia, you can hear Polonia shift a little bit behind you.
So I am.
And before you can say anything else, when she just says that, there's kind of this moment of silence when she just realizes that she's kind of said something she probably shouldn't have. So and Polonia, before you have a chance to say something, Polonia says, "You had not reported this before." Okay, then over to you.
Oh. I'm just gonna look at Polonium real quick, like a side glance, like, thank you for interrupting, and then go back with my questions. Like, I don't want to respond as if, haha, I got it, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to keep going to like make it seem like, sure, okay, as I like take notes or whatever. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to freak out Benicroft by
Yeah.
like acting like I got one over on you kind of thing.
She's actually sweating now, you can tell. And while she's still talking to you, where she was giving you her full attention, almost as like to stay focused on, whatever she was on your questions, she's now glancing occasionally at Polonia. And as you start, basically what she basically tells you is that, those three things. There's been some of their equipment has gone missing. And it's the occasional piece of corpse rendering hardware from the factory floor. There's been they haven't, like, they have skull servitors who kind of keep an eye on things, that also take Vox recordings every now and again, kind of like CCTV, but not as effective. And it's always gone missing at points where there's been no Vox recordings being taken. So definitely somebody on the inside who has a way of knowing, the movements of the shifts and that sort of thing. Some staff have gone missing, and I guess we can kind of say there's been. She keeps the number vague, but she says a handful of factory floor staff have gone missing. Like, haven't shown up to their shifts. And then she says, oh, and a grinder. And when she says, oh, and a grinder, Polonia actually growls softly. And when she does that, Benicroft definitely, like, looks, more than a glances, looks at Polonia, and then looks back at you. And then with the corpses missing, she just says that's just people taking advantage of the kind of, it's just a rumor. There's no way to prove or disprove it. And when she says that, Polonia also says, like, of course there is. If you keep good records of corpses coming in and what's currently in stock, you'll know. And Benicroft says, yes, of course. There are no corpses missing. That would be preposterous, I assure you. Polonia then demands that we go right now and do a stock take of the storeroom, and by this point Benicroft is sweating profusely and says, but of course, and she taps like a button on her desk and says, start a count of our inventory in the stockroom immediately. Affirmative, mistress, comes a robotic voice. And then she kind of pulls like a ledger off from one side of her desk, stands up and says, let's go there right now. And she hands, as she gets to the door, she hands the ledger to her aide to carry it for her. Do you want to stop her from doing any of that before that happens?
Yeah, as she goes to hand the ledger, I'm going to reach out and just intercept it myself.
Okay. She seems a little bit shocked when you do that, but she very quickly says, very well. Follow me. We'll come back to you in a second, Martin. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
as we're walking, I'm going to take a quick glance at it just to get the numbers in my head in case they come up again.
Yeah.
And then like do a nod, and I'm going to gesture to Polonia, like offer, do you want to see this kind of thing?
Polonia doesn't. She gives us a slight shake of her head, like not interested. Okay. And she even says, like, I assume you'll be able to check numbers against a ledger easily enough.
Yeah, I try to be polite, and she's standoffish.
And we can just basically say a few minutes later, you're in this huge storeroom. It's very cool in here. It's kept cold. There are corpses hanging from meat hooks. Mainly because that's what I've seen in a video game of going into a corpse guild storage room. And there are hundreds of corpses here. There are servitors who are kind of milling around. You can see that they're actually counting them as well. And by the time you get there, there's only a short wait before one of the servitors kind of comes trundling over. A servitor, by the way, is kind of like a... think of it like a zombie cyborg, kind of, and you won't be far off. They've basically been lobotomized, and they've been made into robots. So it's robots with a bit of flesh and blood to them, but with absolutely no brain or personality, so to speak. They have a single task that they accomplish usually, and it tells a number for the current stock. And as you look in the ledger, the stock number is a couple shy of what it should be. We'll say like 2. There are 2 fewer corpses. And Benicroft says, that must be wrong. Count again, she says to the servitor. And just as it turns to go do that, there's a bang of a las pistol going off. And Benicroft falls to the ground with a smoking hole in her head. Polonia is standing there with her gun pointed at her. She slowly... There's like... Everyone pauses for a moment. She puts the gun away and turns to the aide and says, "You've just been promoted to overseer of this facility. What is your name?" Do you want to do anything before he answers?
Well, when I heard the bang, my initial instinct was, I'm whipping out the stubby.
Yeah. Understandable. Polonia ignores you completely as you do that.
I see it's her. I see it's what she just did. And I'll put it back in the holster, but leave my coat pulled aside so it's very accessible now.
Yeah.
And I'm paying attention to this interaction between the newly promoted assistant and Polonia.
He's got a shocked look on his face. And Polonia, after she said that, he says, asks for his name. Gorda Ortal, ma'am. Ortal? You don't have to call me ma'am. You are an overseer now. Act like one, damn it. Right, yeah. Right. He kind of like wiggles his shoulders a bit. She says, "What do you know about these missing corpses, Ortal?"
I'm going to hand the ledger to the Ortov now.
He kind of takes it, looks at it, kind of blankly for a second, and shrugs. "Well, just rumors, ma'am. Polonia." "Well, it's clearly not just rumors if they're missing." "No, I guess not." She takes a deep breath. And just at that moment, you hear a huge explosion from somewhere outside. And a moment later, a siren starts wailing.
Outside our
Outside
building
the
in the
facility.
Factorum?
Yeah,
Or
like
outside
not inside the Factorum, like somewhere in the settlement. And we cross over to Clovis at that point.
All right, my first thing is I'm gonna, as I hear the explosion, I'll be like, "You weren't in that, were you?" Into the box feed.
Okay, we're kind of go back in time a little bit first, though.
Yeah.
Sure. I get that.
So Clovis, cutting over to you, you've arrived at the mines. It's fairly easy to find. There's actually probably signs up for you to find them. Yeah, it's we'll say with the time that it took you to like at the bar and stuff, by the time you make it to the mines, Solomon is already interrogating or doing his gothic gibberish at the still alive Benicroft. And you arrive at the mines, and as you arrive at the mines, there are some Orlok gangers who are kind of guarding it. And it kind of strikes you as odd that there are guards everywhere inside the settlement. You're not sure what they're why they're guarding things like this, but these ones are actually a bit more vigilant, and they definitely stop you as you try to approach and say, "What do you want?"
Okay, I'll just whip out the badge we got and say, I've been directed here from. I'll name the watering hole I just came from. Some of your fellow gang members told me I could find Grimbolter here, and I'm hoping to speak to him so he can help me on guild business.
Corpse guild business? We ain't got any dead today.
Well, the day is young, but that's not why I'm here. I'm just looking for some information.
Grim's not going to be able to help you. He's deep down in the bowels of the mines. He doesn't know anything about corpse matters. He's keeping the slaves working. That's what he's up to today.
A noble task, no doubt, but I was given his name to reach out to for general information on the situation here, so that's what I'm looking for.
Well, you wait right here. We'll have a little chat with Grim. And you can see he pulls out like some sort of a Vox device. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'll just mention the Alyssa's name again. But we're mutual acquaintance.
Yeah.
So real quick, my note from last week was Clovis contact might have scoop on why the houses are less violent.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay.
Why the houses are what?
Less violent currently.
There's no less conflict between the Luck and Orlok. Mm-hmm. That's what we heard, at least. So.
And a bomb hasn't just gone off yet, of course.
Yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
After a short time, he kind of talks. He kind of turns his back to you, takes a few steps away, and you can hear him kind of talking under his breath into the Vox device that he's got. While there's another Orlok who's kind of like standing there, kind of keeping you back. And after like a minute of talking, he kind of turns around and comes back to you and says, "You're waiting right here. Grim's coming up to see what this is all about.
Right,
but you're waiting right here."
No worries.
Okay. And after a few minutes, we'll say it's like maybe been like 10 minutes, where he's obviously deep down in the mines. Grim, it's taking him some time. You just see him emerge. Some of that matches his description. Emerging from the mines, he has like a respirator over his face, and he kind of pulls it off, and you see this big handlebar mustache. He's of course not wearing a hard helmet. The only PPE he had was his mask on. And he kind of like blows a big stream of snot out of his nose onto the side of the ground. Hangs the respirator on his belt, pauses and takes a deep sniff of the air, like, oh, this is the good shit.
I'm just sort of fiddling with my filtration plugs. Okay.
And he just starts striding over to you when a bomb goes off. And you've been in the military. You've been in the Astra Militarum. You know the sound of like a big explosion when you hear one. And it's up to you to decide how you react to that. But within a few moments of this explosion going off, a siren starts wailing. And before we cut back over to the corpse guild, because we haven't spent a lot of time with Clovis yet, we'll stay with you. And the first thing that you notice is that because you're standing around a bunch of House Orlok, they spring into action. Grim grabs a weapon from his side and pulls it out. It's a some sort of like a stub weapon, or a slug weapon, if you will, that shoots normal bullets. And he goes running over to where you're standing with the other guards. And he says, let's go check it out.
So the explosion was like behind you from where in the settlements itself.
Yeah, in fact, I guess you would have looked over your shoulder when you heard it. Is
Yeah,
probably
probably.
typical.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's probably I don't know, like half a kilometer maybe away, something like that. So close enough that you can see like a kind of a fireball, briefly,
Yeah.
and some smoke. I mean, again, it's kind of smoggy and it's pretty dim in here, but with the blare with like the light of the explosion, and there's clearly still fire. The smoke is kind of lit from beneath, so you can actually see it from where you are, even over the kind of the hab units where you're standing. So this was a very, very big explosion. In fact, you're probably on a main thoroughfare that leads to the mines anyway, so that's where you're standing at the gate, so that you probably have a bit of a view down this road.
So I get the message from, or the question from Solomon. So I'll acknowledge that I'm still alive, and also give him the information that there's a huge explosion somewhere in the settlement. And
as you're reporting that Grim has arrived, he said to the other two to come with him, and they start ignoring you. They start running down the street towards the explosion. And just as you're deciding what you want to do, you can hear the sound of small arms fire starting. So.
Okay. I will follow them and also take out my last pistol, but I'll follow them at a short distance, so I'm not if they run into a firefight, that I'll get some heads up or some time to react.
Yeah. Okay. And cutting back over then to Solomon, what do you want to do? As soon as the boom happens and this you can hear the kind of the muffled sound of the sirens from within the Factorum.
Did I get an answer back from
You didn't from Ortal, or from Chris.
No,
or
Clovis
Kiri.
side.
Oh, from Clovis. Sorry. You've got the response back from Clovis.
And I'll also just briefly report the small arms fire, and that I'm following some Orlok gangers that are going over to investigate.
Okay.
All right. I have an interesting report from the Factorum. That can wait.
So after the explosion happens, you're kind of like talking into your Vox bead. Polonia notices this, and as soon as you stop talking, she says, "I hope your friend is not involved in what just happened."
Nope, but he was near
Although
it.
explosions usually means an increase in raw material for the rendering vats. She looks over at Ortal and says, I sincerely hope your numbers increase over the next few days. He kind of nods, and then she says, to you, Solomon, well, do you want to stay here and poke around a bit more? Or do you want to go see what's happening?
Right. So, yeah, when she asked, he was there. I said, no, he's close by, but I am going to meet him. And when she says that to Ortal, I'm going to look at Ortal and be like, congratulations, you got promoted and were handed a gift basket the same day.
He just nods kind of dumbly. It's probably a lot for him to take in, although you get the impression that he's a little bit thick-witted.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that impression. I might scratch out another name as manager of Ironmouth Factorum very shortly.
By the way, Benecroft's body is being dragged over to a free meat hook by one of the servitors.
Only one short now.
Yeah. Well, no, because that's being added to the ledger, of course.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
One came in and one's there, so it's still neutral.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say I defer to you since you know Rusmith, Ironmouth better than I. Lead the way.
So you're kind of asking her to go investigate the explosion. Yeah, rather than.
Yeah, I got the impression that she wanted. I got the impression she wanted to go to it. So yes.
Yeah, before she does, she turns to Ortal and says, "Your pale consort here. Will they meet us at the site of the explosion?" And he says, yeah, that should be fine. Well, 1 minute. And he kind of hurries over to Benicroft's body, which is just now being lifted up, and gives an order to the servitor, who lowers the body slightly, and then he kind of pulls a vox bead out of her ear, sticks it into his own, and then rifles into her pocket and pulls out some kind of gadget and slips it into his own pocket, and says, comes back over and says, "I'll need to make the call from my office, but I'll order our pale consort to meet you there." And Polonia says, "Excellent. Follow me then." And she leads you, Solomon, out of the factorum, and it's quite like, as soon as you step out, this siren's wail is quite loud, and now you can hear the sounds of small arms fire, a mix of stubbers and las weapons kind of being fired, as there's clearly some sort of a a skirmish.
I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything heavy. Nothing heavy like bolters or like anything.
You don't hear any. Definitely don't hear any bolters. No. And just for your information, bolters are pretty rare in Necromunda. They're kind of a expensive, premium weapon. They're definitely around, but they're, not always easy to come by. So at the moment, it's just las and you hear maybe a thump. Maybe just once you hear the thump of like a smaller explosion, maybe from like a grenade or something.
Okay, because I'm getting flashbacks to
quite easy to know where to go. I mean, you just follow the noise, right?
I'm trying to avoid losing my other arm to
yeah, probably a good idea. So Polonia, basically, there's a lot of people. Also, there's a mix of people like running away from the sound, and you can see these small like groups of Orlocks with weapons drawn, running towards it as well. So there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of like chaos, not Warhammer chaos, but just general chaos happening right now. As you make your way towards the sounds of the fight. And you're approaching it from different angles. So we're going to say that you're kind of approaching it more from, if we say, let's, just for ease of sake here, to keep it kind of theater of the mind and narrative and easy to figure out what's going on. If we say that the explosion happens more or less in the center of the settlement, which we'll just imagine is a circle, and Martin, Clovis was at the top right of this circle in the northeast corner, which is where the mines are. So you're approaching it from that direction. And we'll say that Solomon was kind of a little bit further from the opposite direction, like southwestern part of the city. And so you're approaching it from that direction. So you're coming at it kind of from two different angles, complete opposite angles. Just to make it nice and easy to keep in mind. And it presents some nice logistical challenges as well.
And I'm going into like military mode where I'm like giving updates over Vox, just like out of habit, like I'm commanding a team again, except it's a team of two now.
Absolutely,
and we do have drilled, so we're probably
exactly
we can probably both go into military mode pretty quickly.
Yeah. And just to open that for our viewers as well, the drilled thing. So it's basically saying you've had experience of military encounters with the enemy, so you're you're used to being in firefights and things like that, and also having other military members at your back. So you get advantage on tests to resist frightened condition, and you get +1 to discipline tests for every ally with the drilled talent in the same zone as you. So you got to be in the same zone for that to come into place. And if another member of your group has a drill talent, you both get the following: the kill team if you've purchased this twice. I'm not sure you actually have purchased it twice.
Nope.
I didn't realize that to start off with. So you both are sitting on some extra XP. So that might be something you want to think about: is having the kill team bonus, which you have to have purchased the talent a second time to get that. And that's if you're in the same zone. If you act immediately after the other one in initiative order, you gain a +1 to all your tests. So it's basically like you're kind of like working off of each other a little bit as a kill team. Up to you if you want to do that, and you don't both have to choose that. It's just if one of you has it, then you get that bonus as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're giving the updates. You're both running, and as you're getting closer and closer, you definitely are seeing like flashes of gunfire. The flash, the kind of like the flash of these like red las beams as las pistols are being fired. And you're heading straight into an ongoing gang war, because what you also see are, as you get closer to it, are dead bodies lying around. You see both Orlok, some civilians as well, and also you see the unmistakable greenish robes of some House Delac gangers with their stereotypical completely shaved heads and kind of augmetic implants in their eyes. And there's clearly a gang war happening right now. So I think rather than launching into this, this might be a good place to end this a little bit earlier than the 2 hour mark, because this gives us a lot of time to think about, for you to think about what you want to do tactics wise. As we'll say, you both of you take cover with your respective groups to get to kind of recce the situation, what's happening, and figure out what you want to do. Grim is still with you. He hasn't run off like recklessly into the fray. He is with these other 2 gangers and you, Solomon, taking cover, looking at what's happening. And the same happens with sorry, that was Clovis.
Yeah, with
Clovis.
Clovis.
Clovis. Sorry. Solomon is with Polonia, and the other Pale Consort has not yet arrived. You don't know where they are, but Polonia is. You've been following Polonia, and she also takes cover when you get relatively close to it. Maybe as soon as like a couple of auto stubber rounds or auto gun rounds kind of like pepper into one of the buildings not far from you. It's like, oh, then this might be a good place to take some cover and just see what's going on. So we'll stop it there as the 2 of you basically just come to the outskirts of this skirmish that's happening on opposite sides of it, of course. Okay.
My intent is going to be to try and like pick a direction to circle around to hook back up with Clovis.
Okay. And with the box speeds, you can definitely arrange that.
Coordinate that, yeah.
I'll
just
want
to
Clovis,
make sure that
yeah, Martin, you need to bear in mind that if you move as well, you might lose track of Grim.
Right, that's why I would probably move to Clovis.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that the Grim doesn't get his head blown off needlessly before I talk to him.
And if I have to pick a side to shoot at somebody, I will shoot at greens versus blues, since I know that Clovis's contact is with the blues.
Yeah,
got it.
Same here.
So if I have to pick a side, I'm picking the side that benefits our team.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna stop there with the stream and with the recording, and yeah, it's a nice little cliffhanger to leave it at. Potentially some combat coming up to test out the combat mechanics, which we haven't really had a chance to do yet, and gives me some time to do some mock combat in Foundry, just to make sure all the opposed tests and whether I need to fiddle around with any of the various tabs, etc., because there's like a combat tab and how it all works, make sure that it's targeting is working properly. I will say that I don't want to have a tactical combat, so I don't want to be having a battle map and moving people around on the map.
Sure.
I might be coming up with something that looks like this, which is a
It's a
you
zone
can't
thing.
see it.
Yeah.
It's like a little zone circle thing, just to kind of like, it is important to know where the various different zones are, but it's actually if it could. I'll have to think about what I'm going to do. I might also sketch something out very, very rough and draw some zones around it, which is kind of like what you do for Fate Core, if people are familiar. My green screen is now kind of going all
bright,
half visible behind me. Anyway, on the feed. So that's what we're gonna do, and we'll come together. And I think a couple of weeks is when we have the next session planned, or it might be 3 weeks.
It's the 9th on the schedule.
The 9th, so 2 weeks away.
After Labor Day here in the U.S.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which I will not be available for.
We'll be streaming that, I think, only for patrons, and the recording will go up sometime afterwards, and for the public. So, yeah, if you want to be watching these streams live, then they're going to be. The first stream was a kind of a public one; it was open to the public, but all these additional live streams now are Patreon only. So, anyway, that's us. Thanks very much for watching, and let me just try and see if I can fix my the brightness here, because it's
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of-
your green is like really glaring on my
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Yeah, it's because I held this white thing up to the screen and it's completely like.
Right.
Oh yeah, I screwed your color up. That was better. Now it's not better.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. So anyway, I'm super bright now. Let me just turn this down. Maybe it'll one of my lights off.
I made the,
yeah, you're less.
You're more visible with the backup brighter.
Yeah.
Technology.
It is what it is. You can see the green screen behind me. It's almost worth, turning off the chroma key just so it's not visible. But whatever. It is what it is. Let's turn that off quickly because it's more distracting with it on.
We're off stream now, right?
No, we're still streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's us. And thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed watching this, then to help the channel, hit the subscribe and the like buttons. And, if you've subscribed, you'll get notifications of when the next episodes are going live, which is obviously, if you want to follow this campaign, worth doing. So we'll catch you up in a couple of weeks. And, thanks to both of you. That was a good session, good fun session from my side anyway. I typically over-prepped, but hopefully there are a few pieces of the puzzle starting to come together in terms of, some clues starting to emerge.
Yeah, some threads we can pull
some
at.
threads to pull on, etc. Okay, so thanks very much, and I'll catch you next time.
Bye.
So now we're off stream.
No, we're still streaming, and everything we're saying right now is audible too, but don't worry about it.
Awesome. That's fine. So I noticed there was a standard ammo missing from the equipment list. So I added a standard ammo because I didn't have any special ammo in my stubber.
Yeah, the ammo, I'm not sure how the ammo works in Foundry. It's a little bit of a mystery. We are actually still streaming. This is just for Patreons only because I'll be recording and cutting stuff out.
I equipped my weapon just to get it on the combat tab, and it was asking for an ammo, which I didn't have any in my inventory.
Yeah, you'll have standard ammo for sure. Yeah,
I created a standard ammo item and gave myself 2 because you get 2 when you get a weapon automatically.
Yep. Did you create it or did you drag it over from the items?
I had to create a standard because you didn't have a standard. You just had the specials in there.
Okay.
Because the specials are itemized in that section, but there's a paragraph above that says.
All right. Yeah. So
standard
you
ammo
need to actually
exists.
have the standard to add it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I think when I was building some of the NPCs, the actors, I didn't actually drag any. Like following the templates in the book, I don't think I dragged any of those. Over.
Yeah, it just says when you buy a weapon, you get 2 free clips, basically.
Yeah.
With the weapon purchase.
Okay.
And I don't have, and FYI, I am not carrying, despite having it, I don't have my shotgun or my cutlass with me because I didn't expect investigation to go that bad.
I was just thinking, like, do we lug around all our equipment? But I would not expect me to or my character to have his sniper rifle with him all the time. But then again, do you want to have it lying around?
To be honest, I think it would make sense. You're investigating. You have this equipment. I think it would make sense for you to have it all on you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that you.
I was just thinking it might be disassembled, like
Sure,
so
that might make sense. Like because it's quite a bulky, big thing. A las sniper rifle. Sorry, not a las.
Yeah.
So you might have like the barrel might be detached for transporting around and stuff. So yeah, it might take you a little bit, like a short amount of time to just assemble it and get ready to use it. But I would say I'm quite happy for you both to have all your entire equipment with you. I don't think you're staying at any kind of like equivalent of a nice hotel where there's like a locker you can keep stuff.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you would trust to do that anyway. So you've got your stuff with you, I think is the assumption. So yeah, you can definitely, by all means, for combat, you can equip your shotgun.
Ironically, the stub resolver and the shotgun do the same damage. I just read the shotgun. That has some other
Do they have
benefits
they all have different traits though, won't they?
Yeah, because the shotgun has spread.
Yeah, exactly. And inflict prone, which is also you're like knocking people over, and you can hit more than one person. So that's definitely worth considering. Stub revolver, what does that have? Reliable, which is going to be
It's also it's only close also. So
sure. So I mean, same damage, but they have different. The traits are considerably different, which I quite like. I mean, this is without having like really crunchy traits, or sorry, crunchy numbers to differentiate weapons. Having the different traits is also a different type of crunch, but it does allow you to have some kind of nice ways of modeling, different things on it without reverting to having to have HP bloat, which is like what some games would definitely have. Like you've got lots of HP, so each weapon has like minutely different damage numbers to kind of keep track of that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
spread is wow.
If you do a search, you don't have to look at the PDFs. You can also do a control space to bring up the search menu, and if you do spread, I've made items for all the weapon traits within Foundry.
Oh.
So literally any weapon trait you can do control space, and also in combat there are, if you do, for example, control space and type in obscured, for example, environmental traits, they're all in there as well. So I didn't want to be flicking through the PDF constantly with this, so I did spend a bit of time to populate. So
I don't see the weapon. I don't see the weapon traits.
I might need that. That's probably because the folder is not open.
Yeah, because it's not recursive.
Yeah, let me do that quickly.
If you do a top level, yeah.
Then you get the observer trait. So let's try that. And then also on environmental traits.
Yep. I had environmentals. I have weapon traits now.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, good. Yeah. For some reason, weapon traits didn't make it into this subfolder. Let me drag that in there now. Let's see. Just do a quick search on weapon traits again now. Do like spread.
Yep. Still there.
Still there. Okay, cool. All right, good. Yeah, so under these rulebook lookups, let me just share a screenshot so you can see what you can look up currently. In terms of, these are items I've created, which will have, like exactly from the rulebook. Let me pop them in Discord quickly.
Oh, I do similar when I set up.
In fact, you can probably see them if you open up the items tab. Yeah, which is the one with the briefcase.
Yeah.
Next to the person. And under rulebook lookups, can you see that?
Yep.
Do you see actions, conditions, environmental traits, movement, range zones, and weapon traits? Or are any of those not visible?
I see all those.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so any of those things, like if we need to look them up, then they're all there. And that should be mostly combat, because combat is the kind of crunchy element of this game. The one thing would have been nice would have been to have done some opposed rolling with the social stuff, but I'm not sure. Like when you were clicking on it, there was no option to pick to say that it was an opposed roll, was there?
No, I think both sides have to roll, and then we do the SL comparisons afterward.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a way to, because I think with Wolfrup there was a way to do opposed tests like that.
Oh yeah, that system is so intricately designed.
But it's the same developer here.
Right, but how beta is this one? Is what I'm thinking.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Also, like just
0.9.6, so I think it's getting pretty close to finished.
Yeah, because if you're going to roll, all you have is modifier SL, which I guess is your bonus SL's difficulty characteristic, advantage or not.
It's not difficult to look it up.
Yeah,
sorry.
Because I put in the bonus SL for the influence, but you have to put in a plus before it, otherwise it won't calculate in the roll. So I just tested it.
Oh, nice.
With so yeah, so that's taken into account when you roll. You don't have to.
Okay, so bonuses. That's good. So plus, you put the plus and then the number, yeah.
Yeah.
Oppose might require that you target somebody first or something.
Yeah, let me just try that. Let me put let me drop Lev down here. So if you hover, might not even show his name. There's like the hooded person there. And if you target them, I think you press T over them. This should see like four.
Yeah,
like
I've
four
targeted.
arrows.
I've targeted somebody. So let me do a. Yeah, is it shoot? No.
No, try it. Try a social one. Shooting's gonna be easy because you have to have them targeted in the combat. The way combat works in Foundry, that won't be an issue.
I don't see anything different, even if I'm targeted.
No? Okay. All right. Then it's easy enough to work out, so it's not a big problem.
Oh.
Oh, and look, the target there, if I click on the person... You have the shift click.
It says I'm targeted on them. There's a target
Question
button.
mark.
The target symbol is highlights when I hover.
Ah, here. It's when I open up their actor tab. It says defending against, and then it says Mike Inquiry Test -4 SL.
Oh, cool.
So if I click on that, let me see. If I click on discipline, let me see if it does that. Modifier SL difficulty willpower, blah blah blah. Let's just roll that.
Yeah, I see you have a -1.
Okay, so it didn't actually roll any dice.
In my chat, I now see a -1 next to your
I
icon.
do as well on your roll.
Yeah.
On your roll note, it says a -1.
Okay,
so
I had a
assuming, but I didn't
-4.
see any dice roll. I didn't see what I actually rolled. But I'm assuming that that's just taken into account that I rolled a -1. But then it should tell us like that means that it's the result is a -3, and what that means in terms of like impressive failure. Or whatever.
You should have been like 1 with a +3 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think let's
seems
not
a
bother
bit-
with the targeting. I think
No,
let's
exactly.
just-
I was just thinking.
I'd rather see what the numbers rolled are and what the result
Yeah.
is, and then we can just work it out like we're sitting at a table doing it. I don't really need... If the automation isn't quite there, then I'd rather see what the actual rolls are doing. Okay. Cool.
And the advantage was great. When I rolled the advantage roll, it actually knew that flipping it was better. So
Yeah, I saw that. It had the... Where is it? I'm trying to find it in the chat.
yeah, but my 86 became a 68. I forgot advantage flips the 10s if it's better for you.
Yeah.
I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 where it's you roll extra dice and take the better.
Extra dice. Yeah. I'm trying to delete these messages. I can't do it for some reason. Okay, doesn't matter. All right, so yeah, that's us done.
Cool. I'm good.
And I'm gonna go get ready to go to this party.
Yeah, and then on the info thing, our next one is the 9th.
Yeah, that's. I'm just gonna let me just check my calendar quickly.
Yeah, we didn't do the 5th.
Fine.
The 12th, I was sick.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I've got it in my calendar because I've copied my calendar to the family calendar to make sure that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, my wife knows when I'm going to be away for the after lunch. It's there as well on the 9th. So I've got the 9th and the 23rd and then also the 30th. So 3 times in September, and that's because in October there's. I'm not sure why we've done it like that. Oh, it's because on the 7th I'm at Spiel Essen. And if we didn't do a session on the 30th, then it would have been 3 weeks until the next session on the 14th. And I wanted to try and keep up at least every 2 weeks. In case there's an illness or something like that, or we have to cancel, then we're not... we haven't scheduled for it to be... yeah, like... We're not taking like a whole month off.
Right.
In fact, if you look at the proposed dates around the booked October holiday, I've put those down. I have them already booked off in my calendar, also at home. So if you're able to make those dates, then that would be good.
Let me see what the 14th is, because if it's Columbus Day weekend, we might be visiting my kid at college the weekend.
Okay, on the 14th of October.
Hold on.
But I've got the 21st, so the 14th and the 21st, which are 1 week after each other. So that's actually okay. If we have to cancel the 14th.
We're actually good. The Columbus Day weekend is the 9th here. So we're
9th
actually
of
good.
October.
And that's your Essen weekend anyway, isn't it?
That's my Essen week, so I won't even be around anyway. Perfect.
Okay, cool. So yeah, 14th works then.
Okay. And I think I've put the
21st
and the 4th.
Yeah.
The 21st and the 4th are both... It's like, it could, if we needed to, it could be one or the other of those two. We don't have to have both of them.
21st is my birthday, so and it's a Saturday, right? So we'll probably go out Saturday night. So I'm probably still good because my wife still has her morning workout classes on Saturdays.
Yeah, I'm good with both as well. So
I should be good through.
The only one I now know for sure that I won't be able to make the 2nd because I'll be at Dragon Meet in London. So
on which one?
2nd of December, which on the proposed dates. Where that was, maybe no my time is no, definitely no my time.
Yeah, I should be good with these dates through October.
through October, but beyond that, you're not sure?
Just as I know what the schedule is through that point.
Okay. Well, I think it's let's consider that, like, because I've booked that kind of with my wife for those dates. So let's consider that sort of a like my proposals, as I've said here, proposed dates. So if I then change that to say in the chat,
November 18th will be iffy because I'm trying to remember when. Cause I'm probably picking my son up on the 17th for Thanksgiving break, so he'll be home the weekend of the 18th. So the 18th I might be out of November, just as we only have like 5 days with him home. So it'll be a lot of board gaming.
That's fine. So I'll put here on the 21st. I'm putting Mike birthday with a question mark just in case. You know, it's your birthday, so if you have other plans or something, then that's totally cool. The 4th was okay for both of you, right?
November.
4th of November.
Yeah, that should be good.
That's fine.
And just note there that would be an hour later for you, Mike, because that's at the one point where the daylight savings doesn't align. So
right.
I'm kind of restricted to having the 1 o'clock slot, because it kind of falls perfectly just after lunch for still doing stuff in the afternoon with family.
Oh, it's fine. I get an extra hour. I get an extra hour sleep. It's all good.
Okay. So that's why it's underlined with the 8 o'clock, is to just highlight it that it's a time change thing. So on the 18th of November, I'll just make that in italics as well and put Thanksgiving. Maybe
is it still
no.
Is it still 7? Is it still 5 hours between us?
It's just there's like a couple of weeks because the daylight savings dates are different in the U.S. and the rest of the world. They don't align at the same time. So there'll be a point where we're like 1 hour further closer together.
No, I'm an idiot. I forgot. I go -5 to -4, but you guys also shift, so we're still.
Yeah, so we eventually line up again.
There's
just like a period of time, like a couple of weeks, where it's not lined up. I know this from my brother and sister, both in the States, and we often have calls together, and it's always like, okay, think about March and April and October, like October, November. Just be aware that like the usual times there could be, might not be aligned. So
half my player groups are EU people, so we are all familiar with it.
Yeah. Okay, so I've just updated this thing now with the italics and stuff. So the 18th and the 2nd, I've put that there's maybe no Mike on the 18th and maybe no Martin on the 2nd. I might like to try and do 2 single solo sessions on those two just to keep up the momentum. If we're getting far enough in the story, I might try and think of ways where you two have split on that 9th session on the 4th of November so that I can have 2, like one after the other solo sessions. Neither of you have to worry about logging in, and then we can have these cool like one-on-one duet sessions. And then bring it back together on the 16th for like the finale, which I think could be really cool.
I mean, realistically, he's a college kid. He won't be awake at 7 in the morning. So the 18th is probably going to work anyway. But
okay. But I think I would like to do some solo sessions anyway because I think they're really cool, and that might just be a nice. You could get a bit of a lie-in as well for another week.
Sure.
And if you want, you could log in and watch live because you'll have access to the Patreon link. So. Yeah, I think let's plan that maybe to do it like that, to do the solo sessions there, and I'll have a think about that's then a challenge for me on the session 9 on the 4th is to bring it to a point where it's possible for the party to split.
Well, we can help out with that, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean that's why I'm letting you know in advance as well, just because it's schedule prompted, and because we're recording. Obviously, if this is like a normal campaign, it would just be kind of like no big deal, but. Always have these special issues when you're doing an actual play. Cool. So that still leaves us with theoretically 12 full sessions, which I think is a good amount. And how did you feel about the length of the episode this time? Was it okay? Like it's a bit short, an hour and a half, but I felt like we got a fair bit done.
It was pretty. I think it was. I mean, last session we had some build-up stuff. This one was pretty much all action after your recap. So,
yeah. Oh. Okay. Cool. Perfect. All right, then I'm gonna shoot off then because it's just come to 3 o'clock and I can be punctual and say here I am. All right.
You've internalized the German way of doing things.
I have a German wife.
Punktlich.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they're talking about changing the immigration laws in Germany, and it's about to go up to a vote in the whatever it's called, the
Bundestag.
Parliament.
Bundestag. That's the one I was looking for the word.
Yeah.
But they're going to vote on it, and one of the things they're proposing is opening up dual citizenship, which at the moment is closed in Germany. If you want dual citizenship, if you apply in Germany to be a German and you want to keep dual citizenship, your other citizenship has to be an EU country.
Right.
And that's a very German-specific thing. It was a law that was introduced like 10 years ago, and as a result, because I have a British passport, I'm no longer a European citizen. I can't do that. If I wanted to become German, I'd have to surrender my British passport and just be German. But they're talking. One of the things they're talking about in this new law that's coming up to the Bundestag, it's already been kind of agreed between a bunch of parties to get to the point it's at, is to open up dual citizenship to anyone from any nationality, because they're having lots of issues with people coming into Germany from other countries, getting frustrated by the bureaucratic process, and ending up going to other European countries where they're
not so.
We're seeing a brain drain in Germany from foreign migrants who have specialist jobs but are leaving because they get fed up with the bureaucracy. So like Holland has been getting a lot of people moving over from Germany after like less than a year of being here, just like, you know what, this is ridiculous. And getting everything sorted within a few months in Holland, for example.
Well, yeah, but it's not really easy to get dual citizenship here.
It's easier than in German. No, I'm not talking about citizenship. I'm talking about
bureaucracy. Yeah.
Things like there was a story in the paper about a refugee, I think, from Afghanistan, and he had some in-demand career, I think in IT for something, and he got a job in Berlin. Moved to Berlin. They were really happy with him, everything else, and he wanted to bring his family with him from Afghanistan. And the initial response from Germany was, no, that's against our rules. And he had to fill out all this paperwork. So he filled out all the paperwork and was waiting for months with nothing happening on it. He got fed up, moved to the Netherlands, and within 3 months, he got a job in the Netherlands to move over there. And within 3 months, his family was there with him. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is probably happening.
They're actually looking at making it more strict here for that.
Okay, because you're getting all the people from Germany.
Maybe, yes.
But Germany is seeing this as a big problem, and they're even talking about relaxing the rules on the German language and making English officially a second official language specifically try and encourage people to stay, because at the moment it's very, very old rules in place with the kind of bureaucratic process. And having to learn German at a certain level is also a prerequisite for even getting like a visa. And it's just, especially for like people from like places that are like refugees, for example, or places like people from outside of the EU, it's quite off-putting. And especially where there's like a ton of jobs that are empty in Germany that need to be filled, a lot of high specialist ones, and there's not enough Germans to fill them, so they rely on other like people from other countries to fill these roles, and they're just not staying. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that this law passes, because then it means I could apply for German dual citizenship, which I probably will do now. But anyway, for now I've got my German wife, and it's good to be punctual, so I'm gonna shoot off. All right, gents.
All right.
Right.
Take care.
Yep.
See you next time.
See you.
Yep.
See you next
Bye-bye.
time.